earlier in the week, we saw that communications from the Dangote refinery saying that the refinery will be delivering PMS nationwide to marketers free of charge. That is a very big one there. There's been quite a lot of reactions, some for and some, of course, against that move by Dangote. Some are saying he wants to monopolize the energy, the downstream, especially of the Nigeria oil and gas sector. What are the implications of this move by Dangote? A lot of people are also saying, of course, this is going to cut out some sharp practices that we have experienced in that sector over the years. I have joining me in the studio someone who knows better about the oil and gas sector. Professor Ken Ife is an economist and, of course, a policy analyst. He joins me right here in the studio. Good morning, Prof.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
All right, it's a pleasure. Let's go straight. Give us an understanding of, what this means to the oil and gas sector. Especially the downstream. Let's start from there.
Now, this is the most consequential, transformational, catalytic, unprecedented thing that will happen to the energy storage, that's fuel storage, fuel distribution, and fuel logistics and transportation. That's the most consequential, and it will affect 230 million Nigerians.
That is huge.
We should begin by looking at whatever it is we are going to talk about. What does it mean to 230 million Nigerians? Secondly, what does it mean to 42 million MSMEs in Nigeria that are responsible for creating 90% of employment in this country and actually generate 60% of the wealth and GDP? Now, before you do anything national, the question is, where is your pilot? In December last year, this Dangote company piloted the selling fuel at the same price all over the country. And we never had the queue, that long queue that we used to have. We didn't have price inflation that we used to have. And for the first time in December, which is a cyclical peak for inflation, we have food inflation come down. This hasn't happened in 10 years. So that was a huge success, but it cost that company over 10 billion naira to do the equalization. Now, this equalization is about picking up the bill for the transport and logistics so that you can maintain that price. And we have an equalization fund. Obviously, that has been scrapped by the PIA. And then you have the distributor asking, say that we're being owed 100 billion. So put that aside. The second thing is this, that this industry has what you call strategic asymmetry of storage, transportation, and logistics. Asymmetry. And this asymmetry that you have is actually fueled by corruption and anything and everything that is ugly. Yesterday, you saw the House of Assembly issue notice that 210 trillion is black hole is in the account. NNPC come and explain. That is the tip of the iceberg. And you saw that in the last 10 years, 15, you saw what was going on about importation of fuel when it was free for all. One tanker will come with 30 million. By the time it leaves, they record 90 million. And we have all that. Our consumption has always been around 30 million. You saw how 59 million has been. And you know that there's cross-border things going. You know, everything that can go wrong has actually gone wrong. But who pays the price? It's still the 230 million people. It's still the industry, those 42 million, where 70% of their cost is related to all the shenanigans going on in the fuel distribution system. You have the hospitals, you have the aviation sector, you have big industries that can't actually function because they are not telecom sectors. Your phone gets, they are suffering because they can't get a good price, they can't get the supply. It's unbelievable.
But
and then somebody now offers a lifeline to all these half of this distribution sector. You know, some retailers are closing down. They are closing down because of a lack of understanding and their poor leadership. So they are closing down, and somebody offers a lifeline to one, maintain highly affordable and then highly available. So we want availability of fuel, affordability of fuel, and then making sure that you can deliver it to the point where it is in the last mile. We call that last mile. Now, so what is the issue? The issue is this, yesterday you also saw an announcement yesterday by the president of the independent marketers that said they're happy that are already working with them, and they're so happy that this is happening. So it is not a one-man story. There are others that feel grateful that this opportunity has come. And when I say lifeline, what I say lifeline, the many rural petrol stations have to close down because they can't get supply. Then some are shutting down in the city, but this is an opportunity for all of them to come back to life, wake up from the dead. And then all of them to get some. So all we are saying is go and register and have an opportunity.
Absolutely. But
Prof, there are more than 15 things I can recommend for you that the leadership of these marketers should be doing for their membership. Over 15 proposals, strategic options I will give you. What they should be doing. Looking forward. When PIA took 20 years to fight to get PIA, we got it in 2021. Buhari has tried to sign it. But he didn't have more stomach to start fighting the implementation. So let Tinubu deal with the implementation. And President Tinubu has faithfully been delivering this instrument. And nothing has happened that is not in the PIA. It's all about PIA implementation. But you see, when you sit in your comfort zone and then you are enjoying, and then you think that nothing happens, then suddenly when good thing comes, then the whole world will come to an end. So that is where we are. But if you want specifics, look at the configuration of the price. Fuel comes out at the gantry at about $8.25. All right. Now, the normal thing is that the sellers should be adding like $10, even if it is $20, even if it is $50. But look at that $8.25. That represents those who prospected the oil, the crude, those who produced the crude, those who transported the crude, those who refined it, those who brought it. That's where they accommodated. But somebody who is selling at 1,000 something, making over 20% profit, when the people who have invested their money and worked all that are getting virtually little. You see, just looking at the price, look at the stack.
Prof, my concern is whether Dangote will have the capacity to reach every nook and cranny of Nigeria, given the infrastructure deficit that we have. You talk about the rural communities. Yeah,
I think it is a matter for Dangote, because I don't see how many people who would invest 4,000 trucks. Do you know how much it costs?
CNG power
4,000 trucks. And secondly, apart from what we are talking about in oil and gas, in crude and oil and petrol, look at the environmental sustainability. We have a commitment, our national determined contribution in this country for our transition program is gas. And then you see how the president has been fighting on those. Suddenly somebody gave 4,000 trailers, pushing the agenda overboard. I mean, and then also those who will come in to start retailing this fuel may also succeed in getting daughter stations to start recharging and having. Can you imagine more business that could come to those? And then you are discouraging people from taking the opportunity. And let me tell you this: if you have a petrol station and you sign up, if all these people don't fail to sign up with this, if you get 500,000 liter and I can't consume it all in one petrol station, I may go and open 2 more. So those who are waiting and bragging, somebody will come and open a new station, you will go out of business forever. They will also go to rural area and open. So you will see displacement. Rather than go in and make sure you are in line, but go in, if you can't take it, 2 of you or 3 stations can share. But you stay and argue, then the train has left. So that's why I'm worried. I'm worried about the leadership that is not actually trying to help their membership and letting them shut down. In terms of whether the capacity is to do this, Dangote did not say you cannot come and buy fuel with your tanker. No, he didn't say that. You can come.
So it's a choice now for marketers.
Yeah, it is there. When you buy it with your own truck and come home, and then you have to count your cost and see whether the other one doesn't offer you a cheaper option. If it does, you can do something. Secondly, nothing stops you from using these trucks, because I hear an argument that they're all going to trucks will go out of business. No way. 42 million businesses are consuming this product. So you can actually use your trucks for the last mile. Do you understand? Because what happens in UK and America and many other countries is that construction site, people stay in construction sites, they stay in their factories, and these trucks come and deliver fuel to them. Not to use motorcycle, carry food. That's what we're doing right now.
Indeed. Prof, there is also issue about monopoly. Marketers are also worried about Dangote monopolizing the downstream sector. Address that. And there's also issue about just two questions in one. There's also issue about capacity, like I said earlier, whether we'll be able to reach everybody. I mean, we know Dangote has about over 650,000 barrels capacity per day refinery, but currently it is alleged that it's operating at just a 40% capacity. Do you think he'll be able to achieve that? 40%
because he's not even getting up to 100,000 barrels a day from NNPC. He's not getting up to 100,000, even though the law, PIA law, says you should satisfy local demand, refinery demand, before exporting anything. So we're going to come to that because this medium and the downstream thing needs to be relooked at. They need to be sanitized because they are misfiring. Okay, and I don't see why NNPC should be funding a regulator. You don't do that. It's like asking commercial bank to fund central bank. You can do that anyway. The thing is this: he has the capacity to supply not only Nigeria but also the whole of West Africa. He has. He's importing a lot of his crude. And then the question is that if he thinks he's going to be losing money, why is he doing those huge investments in Nigeria? And the answer is this: this guy wants to see an end to the suffering of all the 230 million Nigerians and 42 million in industries. In the same way that I left UK after 45 years to come here to help to help my people. What am I doing there? Do you understand? So people should understand that limit. And this guy has delivered backward integration, front and center, and then you can see where in cement he did it, sorted out cement industry. And here he's sorting out this industry. Monopoly is your second question. There's no question of monopoly. He is not even in the retail sector. He's in the processing sector. He hasn't
at the wholesale level.
Yeah. So what is he competing? We have NNPC has 4 refineries. And they burnt over $10 billion over the last 10 years refining. They suddenly the $3 billion in the last 2-3 years. Say, okay, they say 2 are working. What is working? They're only producing naphtha. You are producing naphtha, and then you have what? I don't know what NNPC is still doing in retail end. You should sell off all those retail, because it's a waste of time and the money and resources. And this is why what the president did, removing subsidy, only 50% of the subsidy has actually been available to the president. And of course, he gave most of it to the governors so that they can do their work. And then very little left to palliatives. Half of that money, according to the World Bank, is trapped by NNPC. So it is. So you've got to get all these things out so that people can get the benefit of the transformation in the industry. So you're asking, that's a monopoly, don't want monopoly. Now, the PIA law, I go to PIA, says that has standards, American standards. And in those standards, you have about 11 products that you test. You have to test the pour point, flash point, octane number, all the sulfur content. What they are importing violates those standards. They do. Because NNPC doesn't even have a standard laboratory, internationally accredited laboratory, to even confirm those. Neither has the NMPDRA. They don't have. Dangote has. And that's why his product is going to Saudi Aramco, going to America, going to many African countries, the highest possible Euro 5, Euro 6, highest possible standard. So according to PIA, if you do import, you should go and get a test done so that you can certify the quality. No. The man that sells it to them is the one that issues the certificate. And how can you do that? Because those products cannot be sold in those countries because they're not meeting the standards. But they'll dump them here, a dumping substandard product. And if by the way, you said you have 2 refineries that are producing them, they're producing naphtha. They're not even producing PMS. And then suddenly somebody imports 200 million liters of substandard products, and you call it competition. What are you competing? Right. You are perpetuating import dependence of Nigerian economy and comparing it to a backward integration that says, let my people go, free our economy, create national economic sovereignty, help the people on the ground, help the businesses. We are not comparing like to like in any way, form, or shape.
Indeed, we're not comparing. But let's look at how this will eliminate landing costs and the issue of debt ownership. I spoke with a lot of them. There seems to be some concerns. Because maybe some depot will naturally have to close business.
It's not that. Okay, has any depot asked for fuel to be supplied to them by Dangote, and Dangote says no? You know, that you're even dragging me to the solution, one of the solutions. One of the solutions I've said to the leaders of these, what do you call it, distributors. One, go and talk to the Dangote as a group and see if you can negotiate good terms for your people. Two, talk to your oil majors. Those 5 majors that are importing everything can actually set up each one of them can set up a modular refinery. Each one of them. They can now send their fuel to their tank farms, and from the tank farm they can export. Who said they can't export? And from the tank farm they can supply to their network distribution. Nobody's excluding anybody from the business. And already we have 3 modular refineries. You have NNPC. How can you talk about monopoly? So there's no monopoly on upstream because he's not even playing hard on upstream. That's why he's begging for crude. He's not playing on the downstream. He's not fighting. He has the capacity to double the number of petrol stations in the country, but he's not doing that. He's just removing the infrastructure cost. That he's just removing that massive scale of corruption.
As long as it's not taking some people out of business.
He's actually offering a lifeline.
Absolutely. Because
I've seen, like you are you not getting more jobs when you are getting dead stations back into life? You are creating more jobs. And then you are giving more opportunity. Somebody selling petrol may even have a booster station that is doing, come on.
All right.
You never see this is a challenge to our sensibility.
All right. I have seen Petro commending and, of course, welcoming this as a new development. Whether they're sincere about it is what we will find out later. You talk about Ipman as well.
Yes, Ipman
who are also welcoming this new move as well. But let's look at how it will affect the ordinary man on the street. That is where the crux of the matter. These are the people that will benefit from this once it's properly implemented. Would this move now bring down the cost of PMS?
It's unbelievable. Because I reckon, I was asked this question I think it was in Arise, I was asked this question. I said I'm not Dangote, but in my own calculation, in my own metrics, I could see the possibility that this fuel price can come under 800. I can see that in calculation, in my own computation, in my metric, that it can come down under 300 and be sustained and keep going down. It's because you are removing the big elephant in the room, that huge margin of conspiracy. You know, that's what you're doing. And you cannot equate the convenience and corruption of maybe 1,000 or 10,000 market to 42 million MSMEs that are suffering, shutting down because 70% of their costs is embedded in all these things going on in the energy. You know, and then you're thinking about the 230 million people that every day you see this will bring down the price. It will even make it affordable. They can actually get it. Do you know, I have factories in my village. And then when I want to prepare, they will carry drum and jerry can on the motorcycle to travel long distance to get fuel for me to run my generators. Right. What is that? Absolutely. Yet you have fuel stations that have closed in the villages, in the rural area. That would dramatically change that. You don't have to be buying, you know, it will transform. It will be cheaper. It will be more available, readily available. Right. The price will be stable. Inflation will take a hit. All right. Serious hit on inflation.
Prof, that is the most important thing. As we wrap up this conversation now, tell us what kind of collaboration do you think we should start seeing from independent marketers and, of course, alongside Dangote as well? What kind of collaboration do you expect to see between independent marketers and, of course, Dangote?
The opportunity is there. And I haven't seen Dangote say, oh, if you come to use me, exclusive, don't use any other person. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen him say you can't bring your other truck to my gantry.
But he's making his own business more attractive.
No, it's not that. You know, this guy, look, he doesn't need Nigeria, for goodness sake. He's in a free trade zone. He doesn't need Nigeria. You don't even give him crude. He's importing the crude, and there's a huge demand for his product in African countries. And he will soon open some other refineries everywhere and send them this thing to refine. He doesn't need it. But he's a Nigerian, like myself, that can't live with what is going on. People in Niger Delta can't breathe fresh, good air. Water is there bad, they can't get water. They polluted their thing, they can't farm anything. You know, it's all around climate change. Remediation money has been brought in, billions of dollars gone. Name me all that. Look at all that. And then somebody brings in CNG to push the whole agenda. You're shouting, you're screaming. What are you screaming about?
All right. It's a very good one there. Prof has summed it up. Dangote is coming in with a very new innovation. A lot of Nigerians are actually happy with what's happening. I've spoken with a lot of people on the street, and they are interested to see how, most especially, how this is going to bring down the cost of PMS. Eliminate the middlemen who are usually
No, we don't want to eliminate the middlemen.
At least to
reduce their
activities.
Cut down a little bit on their excesses.
Absolutely.
To make sure that the population gets a look into profitability.
Absolutely, which is indeed very important. Professor Ken Ife is an economist and, of course, policy analyst, of course, very knowledgeable in the oil and gas sector. I must thank you for your time on Business Day today. We appreciate your contributions.